Hi everyone, Spider-Man 1991 here to my comic reviews for the week. Before I get started on the reviews, I just want to bring up some news I heard this week. Barnes & Noble will now release its new Nook color, it's called some new Nook tablet, and basically they've made a deal with Marvel to sell 50 graphic novels when it comes out. I mean, it's not going to be exclusively, but they are going to release like 50 Marvel graphic novels that will be downloadable and readable for this new Nook device. That's nowhere. I don't think there's been any word yet on whether or not the graphic novels will be sent on Amazon's Kindle Fire anytime soon. But for now, it looks like they'll just be on Barnes & Noble's Nook Color, which is kind of Barnes & Noble's way of giving the finger to DC Comics after the whole Amazon Kindle Fire deal that happened a few months ago. And, well, speaking of digital comics, also today, if you were lucky to get Avenging Spider-Man this week, you'll notice that right here it says that this comes with a code for a free digital copy. So now Marvel's doing digital releases, but here's the thing though, the code that they give you in this issue, which you really can't see it, but it basically says, like, right under here, offer expires November 10th, 2012. Which is basically a year from now. I don't think they had an expiration date on DC Comics, but, I mean, I don't think they had an expiration date on DC Comics, not that I know of, but they probably do. Anyways, I did get, I'm glad that it didn't cost me an extra $1 to get the digital copy, but I think now if you do want to have any plans on getting digital copies with your printed copies, then it might cost you a little extra. Or even if they do start to do the combo packs again, because I think the only comics that do that are Justice League, and that's the only one that comes to mind. But I did download it for my iPhone because this is pretty much the only Apple iDevice that I have. Well, I do have an iPod Touch, but it's really old. And I downloaded it, and I didn't read the digital copy yet, though, because I just read the printed copy. I was finally able to read the printed copy today. Anyways, let's get on to some reviews. First of all, I'm going to review two comics, sort of summarize them and review them both at once, because there are two parts of the same story, which are Ducktales number 6 and Darkwing Duck number 18. Both part 3 and part 4, the second half of the Ducktales Darkwing crossover Dangerous Currency. Okay, picking up from where things left off in the last issue of Darkwing, Darkwing saves Gosling and Webby from Honker and the boys who have been turned into giant monsters since they were exposed to the black slime, and then basically with Launchpad and Scrooge McDuck, Gizmo, and Gyro, they head back to Duckburg to Gyro's laboratory, and using a sample of the slime, they're able to synthesize an antidote, which they use to turn the boys back to normal. Except once the boys turn back to normal, Magica sends the Fearsome Four, who, if you've read Darkwing, should know consists of Megavolt, Liquidator, Quackerjack, and Bushroot, who are also superpowered by the ink, to attack Duckburg, but fortunately Gyro modified Darkwing's gas gun, so now he can cure anyone who's been infected by the slime. And they've also added new cannon to the Gizmo Duck armor, because apparently now, whenever they try to defeat when they defeat the slime, Gizmo, it reveals a little more about what happened with Magica and the slime, because Gizmo Duck is recapping what happened where he's been, which is basically Magica kidnapped him over a year ago, and somehow Magica kidnapped him over a year ago, and what seems like time travel that brought Fenton back into the present or something. Anyways, Magica basically, basically they attach the can to the Gizmo Duck armor, which basically would cure the ink and reveal some more details about it, such as maybe the slime's origin. And anyways, and it was when the slime starts to take over Duckburg like it did to St. Canard. They fire the new cannon, and once it's fired, a portal opens up, and apparently the source of the slime is revealed, and apparently the source is Negaduck, and also in the portal is Morgana, and that's how DuckTales number 6 ends. Moving on to what happens in Darkwing Duck number 18. Negaduck and Morgana are in the portal, and apparently, since Negaduck was hit by the Tron Splitter back in the second story arc of Darkwing called Crisis of Infinite Darkwings, he was split apart. His physical form was apparently split apart into smaller molecules, which eventually mutated into the slime. And Negaduck's consciousness was stored in an alternate version of St. Canard. And also Morgana wound up in the same alternate St. Canard after the whole Ducktales adventure. Anyways, then Morgana tells Darkwing that if he tries to save Morgana if he basically pulls Morgana out of the portal back into the regular world, then Negaduck will come with her. And so basically Darkwing's left with a choice. And of course, Darkwing chooses to save Morgana, which inadvertently brings back Negaduck. And now that Negaduck's back, he has full control of the slime. So he's basically in the driving seat. He has full control over the slime, as well as Duckburg now. And right when this happens, though, we learn that the Agent 44 that Scrooge has been calling throughout this story arc, Agent 44 is revealed to be none other than Donald Duck! Seriously, Donald Duck. And now Donald Duck is called into action, and Donald basically goes around Duckburg encouraging the citizens to fight back and resist the slime and stuff, and that basically weakens Negaduck. But then Phantom Blot tells Negaduck that he should join with him. Phantom Blot tells Negaduck that he should use the ink to join with Phantom Blot, Magica, the other 3 witches that Magica's working with, and the Beagle Boys to make himself even more powerful. And Negaduck does that, so now they're all powerful. Everyone's more stronger. But now Morgana reveals to Darkwing that the way he can defeat Negaduck is to basically tell Negaduck the truth. And Darkwing does so. And that truth is, Negaduck doesn't have any friends. Come on, it's Disney. Basically, Darkwing tells Negaduck that even though, despite all Negaduck's allies and cronies, he does not have any true friends, whereas Darkwing has a ton of friends who back him up, who are backing him up right now and fighting alongside him. Negaduck is basically angry and alone. And this realization reopens the portal, and it sucks Negaduck and Magica, Phantom Blot, and all the other villains back into that alternate dimension, and seals them all for good. And the final page of the story is basically all the heroes are now enjoying a nice afternoon in the park, and to celebrate, they've pretty much decided to go out to dinner, but they've agreed that the main course will be eaten in Duckburg, and they'll have dessert in St. Canard. And at this point, Darkwing and Scrooge both kind of look at each other as allies and friends, and the last panel of the last page is Scrooge and Darkwing shaking hands while all their friends are happy. Yeah, that's how it ends. Okay, this was a good story. I gotta admit, if you watched either of these shows, if you watched either of these shows growing up, then you will really enjoy this story. It's fun, it's funny and fun, nice, lighthearted, because again, the whole Negaduck doesn't have any friends being the reason that he's defeated is just typical Disney. That's typical Disney right there. But it's really funny. It's a really funny and entertaining story that I think any Darkwing or DuckTales fan would be happy with. DuckTales, I didn't really watch much growing up, but whenever I caught it, I would think it's a cool show. And I didn't really pick up the first 4 issues of this series, but if they're collected, I might consider buying the trade paperback. Darkwing Duck number 18. Darkwing series, I've loved the Darkwing series. Okay, it's been really fun and enjoyable, and I am a little disappointed to see it go. Not so much because, well, it cost me about $4, and this might save me a little money. But yeah, Darkwing Duck was an amazing series. I really enjoyed it. Any Darkwing fans out there, Boom will release collected editions of the stories from this series. So if you can, you can probably find them on Amazon or BarnesandNoble.com or even Boom's website, BoomStudios.com. So yeah, I think I spent a lot of time talking about Darkwing. So moving right along to Marvel Ultimate Comics Spider-Man number 4. We finally reached the night that Peter Parker died. After hearing that Spider-Man's been shot, Miles Morales makes his way to Queens, and he witnesses Peter Parker's last moments of life. It's right after Peter throws the semi-truck on the Green Goblin. Basically, Peter's dying, and Miles sees the whole thing, his last moments, and that's where it ends. And then a few minutes later, he asks Gwen Stacy what was his name, and Gwen says Peter Parker. And of course, the next day, and of course, a little later, once he gets back to his school and talks to his friend Gang, he says that Miles is basically saying that he feels terrible about all this. He feels terrible because he had superpowers, but he didn't bother going out and saving people. He just hid like a coward, and he feels ashamed and really sad that he couldn't do anything, or maybe that if he helped out before, he could have met Spider-Man earlier and maybe made a difference, and things could turn out differently. But then Gang encourages him that maybe this was the moment he got his powers, so that maybe he could take over as Spider-Man, so that he could be the Spider-Man on deck in case anything happened to Peter. So now it's Miles' turn to put on the costume. And the next day, Miles and Gang go to Peter's funeral, and while they're there, Miles again sees Gwen Stacy, and he asks her why Peter became Spider-Man, and she tells him about Peter's Uncle Ben and about great power and responsibility. And then Miles asks her one more question, which is why he wore a mask, and Gwen says that it's because Peter didn't need anyone to know he was a hero, and also it looked cool. And a little later, though, Gank gives Miles a Spider-Man Halloween costume to sort of, push him in the direction of becoming a hero. And Miles heads out on his first night of patrol. And if you want to see what happens, the more detailed version of it, you'll have to check out Ultimate Fallout number 4, or you could use the Marvel Comics app to find a digital version of just that short story called Ultimate Spider-Man number 0. It's free, so you should check that out. But anyways, if Miles has a really rough time, he's kind of having he does defeat the villain Kangaroo, but he does it sloppy. That's how people describe it. And also, everyone says that him wearing the red and blue costume is in a little bad taste. So anyways, the Beagle basically trashes the new Spider-Man, and of course now Miles is feeling a little down. And also, when Miles and Gank are roommates in this charter school, but they also share the room with a third kid, and when he comes back and he's almost going to enter the room, Miles kind of freaks out, so he has to hide under the covers while still in his costume. So, I guess Miles learned not to wear his costume at school. And later that night, Miles is on patrol for the second night, and he, runs into Ultimate Spider-Woman, or who's Peter's clone in this reality. Okay, we finally established past 3 issues of this series, we've established who Miles Morales is, how he got his powers. Now we're moving into what is going to make Miles become Spider-Man. What makes him, wear this costume. I mean, we do get a clip, though, when he's planning a costume. He does sketch this costume, like with the red on black, and now we're finally seeing how Peter's death affected him and how it made him become the next Spider-Man, though. But we're not fully there, though. Miles is now starting to meet the people in Peter's life so that he can uncover why Peter did this, why Peter became a hero, and why he should. I mean, it definitely is a lot more interesting now with this issue. I was really considering dropping this series, but after reading this issue, I feel like I should stick around just to see where it goes. Okay, moving right along to Marvel. Like I said earlier, Avenging Spider-Man number 1. After the Avengers defeat a giant robot by AIM. Red Hulk gives Spider-Man a ride back to New York, or I guess basically grabs Spider-Man and makes huge super leaps to get him back to New York City. And as Spidey and Red Hulk get back to New York City, the city is attacked by Moloids, and they kidnap Mayor Jonah Jameson. And one of the Moloids, and when Spider-Man and the Red Hulk show up, one of the Moloids plays a whistle, some sort of whistle, and that summons a huge monster that devours Spider-Man and Red Hulk. And then we cut to the underground area of the Moloids, and apparently they've overthrown the Mole Man, and they're now looking for a new king, which apparently they are considering Jonah Jameson for. All right, Avenging Spider-Man though. This series is basically supposed to be the new Marvel team up, which was a series where Spider-Man would team up with a new hero each month. Now they're kind of bringing that concept back. The first issue was okay. I mean, lately, whenever I've read Amazing Spider-Man, I thought, wow, this is awesome. Dan Slott is great. Well, this isn't written by Dan Slott. It's written by Zeb Wells, who's worked on the recent volume of New Mutants. Avenging Spider-Man, well, this first issue, though, like Green Lantern New Guardians, to me felt kind of short. But it is an interesting dynamic to see. It is an interesting concept to see Spider-Man team up with a different hero, and in this case with Red Hulk, because Red Hulk was once General Ross, who hunted down the Hulk mercilessly, and he's more of a military tactical guy, and Spidey's just sort of a fun, make jokes at the bad guy sort of hero. And it would be interesting to see the rest of these two sort of, see where this story... It is an interesting story, and I do want to see where it goes. If you do get the opportunity, I would definitely say pick this up. Okay, now for DC. Green Lantern, number 3. Issue opens up with Carol Ferris watching TV, and she sees Hal, Jordan, and Sinestro saving people on a bridge, and she's shocked because Hal's teamed up with Sinestro again. Back on Oa, the Guardians are again making sure Ganthet does not feel a thing because they're jerks. And then the Guardians decide that the Green Lanterns have flaws just like the Manhunters they built. So they've decided to replace the Green Lantern Corps with a new army. That's all we get for that story. But back to the main focus, which is Hal, Jordan, and Sinestro trying to free Korugar. On their way to Korugar, Sinestro explains his plan. He'll distract the Sinestro Corps while Hal takes Sinestro's green power battery into the huge yellow central power battery, because Sinestro installed some sort of failsafe that if a Green Lantern enters the central power battery, then it will automatically shut down and cut all power to the Sinestro Corps rings. So they arrive on So Hal and Sinestro arrive on Korugar, and all of a sudden while the Sinestro Corps is taking all the citizens prisoner and stuff, one woman named Arsona attacks one of the members, and when Sinestro sees this, it gets him to spring into action, sort of help defend the woman and stuff. We don't know who she is. Basically, all Sinestro says is Arsona, and he expresses some concern over her. Could be his sister. We don't know. Anyways, then while Sinestro is dealing with his own core, it gives Hal the perfect opportunity to take the Green Lantern, the power battery, into the central battery. But when Hal does so, once he enters it, the battery basically disintegrates him. So the issue ends with Hal Jordan being disintegrated. Well, that was definitely something we didn't see coming. Yeah, Green Lantern was definitely something interesting, something that really makes you question a few things. Is Hal really gone? It gives you that cliffhanger ending that makes you want to check out what's going on next month, which I assure you I will read. Anything else I want to say about it? Well, again, the dialogue between Hal and Sinestro is amazing in this, because they're sort of disagree. Whereas Sinestro, you can see that how there are different types of Green Lanterns. Sinestro is a more serious, strict lantern. Hal, however, is just a guy who does who can fight for justice and enjoy himself at the same time. Because there is one line in this, couple lines in this issue that I like, where Hal pretty much asks Sinestro, "Did you ever enjoy having the Green Lantern ring?" And Sinestro says, "Did you ever take it seriously enough?" And again, it's basically the two are, I'd say Hal and Sinestro are both pretty, well, Sinestro more than Hal is pretty arrogant, because when Hal says, pretty much asks him, is this because if Sinestro thinks he's better than him, Sinestro merely laughs and says, "Jordan, I am better than you." Again, if you love Hal Jordan and Sinestro, it's very interesting to see their dialogue. They have really good dialogue in this issue, and also, again, the ending is definitely a cliffhanger that makes you really want to see what's going to happen next month. Okay, now for the next DC last comic, Superboy number 3. After escaping from nowhere after he took down a huge alien prison, Superboy is buried 1 mile under the Earth's surface, but thanks to his tactile telekinesis, he's able to fly right out of there back to the surface. Once he gets out of there, he sort of runs into a girl, and he offers to take her home, and he does so at super speed, which once he stops, it kind of freaks her out, and then Superboy gets attacked by another alien who apparently escaped from the same prison that he brought down last issue, and this alien says that she senses Kryptonian blood and human blood in Superboy and something else. Apparently, and then Superboy starts fight, and then she and Superboy fight, and of course Superboy is sort of denying that he's Kryptonian by stating that Nowhere told him that he's human, that he knows says that Nowhere told him that he's a weapon, but he knows that he's human. And of course the alien keeps egging him on, saying that he's not human and Nowhere's been lying to him. And of course that gets Superboy to pretty much question Nowhere at this point to try to find some answers. And during the fight, though, apparently the alien melts, which Superboy thinks he caused it by his tactile telekinesis, but he thinks he caused it, but it might be something else. And Superboy after that, a crowd starts to gather, and Superboy decides to get out of here, and he heads to Project Nowhere, and he runs into Dr. Fairchild, the redheaded girl who's sort of been helping him out since issue 1, and he goes to talk to her and get some answers about his origins and stuff, like how he was made and everything. And right when he confronts her, she grows a couple of inches and gets more muscular, and apparently she has super strength. And that leaves Superboy thinking, okay, this did not go the way I thought it would go. Alright, Superboy number 3. Finally, Superboy's getting a little personality here, okay? He's starting to think for himself. That's what's going on. He's now considering that Nowhere is wrong or a bunch of liars or something, but he now is starting to think for himself and decide to get some answers about how he was made, where I guess his template DNA came from and stuff. And also he's learned how his powers function properly. And apparently he can be attacked from behind. Apparently Superboy can be attacked as long as he's not aware of it per se. I mean, normally his tactile telekinesis can block stuff, but when he wasn't aware of the alien attacking him, she was able to get a clear shot. But Superboy number 3, very good. I mean, he's starting to think for himself now. He's starting to be less of that whole clone developing conscious to now he's becoming a fully self-thinking individual. And now I can't wait for the next issue, because apparently we might get some answers. Superboy might get some answers, and so will we. Okay, that's everything. Superboy number 3. Finally, he's thinking for himself. Can't wait to see what answers he's going to find out next issue. Green Lantern number 3. Is Hal Jordan gone? Who knows? Can't wait for next issue. Good dialogue between Hal and Sinestro. Avenging Spider-Man number 1. Not a bad introduction, just felt a little short. Ultimate Comics Spider-Man number 4. This we've seen the last 3 issues of what makes Miles Morales Miles Morales. Now we're getting into what makes Miles Morales Spider-Man. And DuckTales number 6 and Darkwing Duck number 18. Very good series. Both were very good series. Really wish I could have read the first 4 issues of DuckTales. And Darkwing Duck is a very great series. Sad to see it go. And that's my comic review for this week. Spider-Man 1991 saying, see you later.